I knew I had to leave the moment my boss smiled while firing someone for his own mistake. My name's Kenji Liu, and up until last year, I worked as a back-end developer for a mid-sized tech company in Tokyo. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and I liked building things. Quiet, logical things that didn't lie, manipulate, or stab you in the back while holding a Starbucks cup and smiling. Unfortunately, humans are not code. I joined the company at 26, fresh from a smaller startup, where I'd burned out after 2 years of unpaid overtime and ramen-fueled all-nighters. I thought this new job would be different, structured, professional. There was even a ping pong table and team lunches every Friday. You know, the kind of shiny culture fluff that makes you think, maybe this time they mean it. They didn't. My manager, Ryo Nakamura, was one of those people who looked good on paper, always buttoned up. Slick hair, smooth voice. The kind of guy who used phrases like synergize and circle back and got promoted just for existing. When I joined, he made a show of being welcoming. Kenji-san, you'll go far here. Just stick close, I'll mentor you. Translation: I'll take credit for your work until you're too jaded to care. For the first few months, I did what most people do. I kept my head down, worked hard, met deadlines. I fixed a bug in the company's core billing system that had been causing low-key chaos for 6 months. Nakamura praised me in private, then presented it in the Monday meeting like it had been his own initiative. I let it slide. The first time. Haruto Chen, my coworker and eventual best friend, was the one who taught me how to survive the office without losing your mind. Rule 1, he told me over vending machine coffee: never trust anyone who compliments you and schedules you for weekend deployment in the same breath. He wasn't wrong. By month 5, I was the go-to guy for back-end emergencies. Not officially, not in title or pay, but every time something broke at 2 a.m., it was me on the line. Nakamura had this way of messaging me with just a casual, "Hey, can you take a quick look?" which always meant hours of unpaid work. HR didn't care. And when I brought it up once, Yuna Takeda, the head of HR, just smiled and said, "Well, we all have to show dedication sometimes, Kenji-san." It wasn't one big event that broke me. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Code I wrote suddenly misbehaved when someone else deployed it. Clients who complimented my work mysteriously stopped emailing me directly. A presentation I built, Nakamura presented it solo, forgetting to even mention my name. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. Office politics, right? Haruto tried to cheer me up, saying, "You're too good, man. That's the problem. They know it." But then came the project. It was a system overhaul for one of our biggest clients, Kishi Financial. We were supposed to integrate their old legacy data into a new back-end system I had built from scratch. Clean, scalable, rock solid. I spent weeks on it. At the last minute, Nakamura overrode my deployment and pushed his revisions live. Changes he'd insisted were necessary. The rollout failed. Badly. The client lost 2 days of transaction logs. It was fixable, but it was embarrassing. And Nakamura? He threw me under the bus. In hindsight, he told the board, Kenji's inexperience with financial clients may have introduced unnecessary complexity. I'll be supervising future changes more closely. That was the moment I stopped trying to be understanding. A few days after the fallout, Haruto messaged me on Slack. "Yo, you didn't see this from me, but check the edit logs on the deployment branch from last week. Look at who committed what." I did. And what I saw made my blood run cold. Nakamura hadn't just overridden my code. He'd used my login, as in, he'd accessed the system under my credentials and pushed the changes with my digital signature. I stared at the screen for 10 full minutes. This wasn't office politics. This was deliberate sabotage. I didn't say anything right away. Instead, I started documenting everything, quietly, patiently, every odd email, every Slack message where he redirected blame, every instance where he bypassed me and contacted the client pretending to be tech lead. I even dug up screenshots of my original code and commit history, real timestamps, IP logs, access points, and just for good measure, I installed a little script on my own system that tracked all access to my employee credentials. If Nakamura used my login again, I'd have proof. I also reached out to Sho Tanaka, the IT security lead. We weren't close, but he'd always seemed fair, and more importantly, he hated sloppy breaches. Hypothetically, I asked him one lunch, if someone accessed another employee's credentials and pushed production code, what would IT see? He paused. We'd see login location, device fingerprint, time, and endpoint. Why? No reason. Just wondering how secure our VPN really is. He gave me a long look but didn't press further. I think he knew. Then something weird happened. Nakamura started being nice. He invited me to meetings again. Let me speak. Gave me credit in front of Meilin Zhang, the company's elusive CEO, who only popped in once a month like a mythical creature. He even told me, "You've grown a lot since you joined. I'm thinking of recommending you for a promotion." That's when I knew he was planning something worse. I started backing up files on a personal encrypted drive. Nothing confidential, just my own work, proofs, logs. I also started a private group chat with Haruto, where we laid out every shady thing Nakamura had done, with dates and cross-references. "You're really going to nuke him?" Haruto asked one night. "I'm going to let him nuke himself," I said. "He just doesn't know it yet." Because Nakamura's arrogance was his blind spot, and I was about to exploit it. By the time we hit Q2, the company was preparing for a big investor presentation, one that would feature our latest AI-powered risk modeling platform, which Nakamura claimed to have built in collaboration with our client, Aya Yamamoto, at Kishi Financial. Only, I had built that prototype, and I knew for a fact it wasn't ready for demo. The AI component was still raw, barely functional, and not client-approved. If he showed it off as production-ready, it would be a lie, a very expensive lie. So I let him. That's where I'll pause for now. Because the rest, that's where the trap closes. The boss who thought he could silence me, sabotage me, steal from me, he had no idea I'd been watching, waiting, letting him build the rope he'd eventually hang himself with. But the best part? He was going to thank me for it first. By the time April rolled around, Nakamura had talked himself into a corner he didn't even realize he was in. Our big investor demo was locked for a Thursday afternoon, an internal presentation where Kishi Financial would preview the final build of the AI risk modeling platform, the same one he'd been parading around like a trophy, even though it wasn't ready. Here's the thing. I could have stopped him. I could have flagged it to HR or even emailed the client directly to explain the situation. But then he'd spin it as me being petty, or worse, insubordinate. HR would have slapped my wrist and sent me to team realignment training while Nakamura played the victim. So instead, I let him fly toward the sun. Wings and all, I still remember the Monday before the demo. Haruto leaned over from the next desk and whispered, "You sure about this?" I nodded. "He's going to burn himself." "Yeah, but he'll try to drag you down with him." I smiled. "Not this time." Because what Nakamura didn't know was this. I had already met with Aya Yamamoto, the client rep, in person. 3 weeks prior, it had started with a coincidental run-in at a tech networking mixer. I saw her name on the RSVP list and made sure I was there early. We hadn't interacted much. Nakamura always kept me in the background, insisting that FaceTime with the client was best left to managers. But that night, I introduced myself, explained that I was the lead dev on the AI system. Aya's brow furrowed. "Oh," she said, "I thought Mr. Nakamura was designing that." I gave a tight smile. "He's presenting it. I built it." That was the moment I saw doubt creep into her expression. We talked for 15 minutes. I didn't accuse Nakamura of anything. I just answered her questions. Honestly, she asked about training data. I told her it was still limited. She asked about model accuracy. I told her it wasn't production grade yet. She asked if that would change by the demo. I said no. So by the time Thursday came, Aya wasn't walking into that room blind. Neither was I. I had a folder on my desk labeled contingency. Inside was everything I needed. Email threads, Git logs, Slack messages, internal timelines, even a screenshot of Nakamura messaging me. "We'll polish it later. Just get something that looks smart for the demo." And, of course, a written summary of our project's actual status, with my name and date-stamped commits, ready to go, in case things exploded. I wasn't just ready for the worst. I was daring it to happen. The demo started with a lot of posturing. Nakamura greeted everyone with his usual suave confidence, cracked a dry joke about cutting-edge AI, then pulled up the dashboard I'd built. Except he didn't use the real interface. He loaded the mock version, the one with preloaded data and hard-coded charts. the one I'd begged him not to use because it was misleading. But of course, it looked amazing. It ran smoothly. It auto-predicted credit risk scenarios. It spit out risk scores and investment suggestions like it had real intelligence behind it. Aya nodded politely throughout. She asked a few probing questions, most of which Nakamura answered vaguely. Then she said, "I'd love to see a live run. Can we input some sample data?" I almost laughed out loud, because I knew it wouldn't work. Nakamura smiled, but I saw the flicker of panic in his eyes. Well, the live model isn't quite hooked into the front end yet, for security reasons, of course. Aya tilted her head. "But you said earlier that this was production ready?" He fumbled. "Yes, but only internally. Client-facing deployment is scheduled for Q3. Haruto, who'd been invited last minute, glanced at me across the room. "Here it comes." Aya calmly closed her notebook and said, "So you presented a mock-up as if it were live, didn't answer my model integrity questions, and exaggerated the delivery timeline. Is that accurate?" You could have heard a pin drop. To his credit, Nakamura didn't implode on the spot. He pivoted hard, started rambling about MVPs, iterative cycles, rapid prototyping. Aya let him hang himself for another 5 minutes. Then she stood up and said, "I'd like to speak to your technical lead, now." He froze. Everyone turned to me. I stood up slowly and said, "Happy to clarify anything, Yamamoto-san." And for the next 10 minutes, I calmly walked through the real progress of the project. I showed logs. I explained model accuracy. I didn't blame anyone. I didn't throw Nakamura under the bus. I just told the truth, which, in that room, hit harder than any accusation ever could. After the meeting, Nakamura stormed into my office. "You smug little... What the hell was that?" I looked at him. "That was me doing my job. You just undermined me in front of a client." "No, I corrected a misrepresentation." "You planned this. You've been scheming." I didn't even blink. I kept records. If that's scheming, maybe you should have done the same. He slammed the door on his way out. Good. Let it rattle. The fallout began within 48 hours. Aya submitted a formal complaint to the executive team. The CTO launched an internal review. Yuna from HR suddenly became very interested in my version of events. I gave her the folder. Everything. She flipped through it silently, growing paler by the page. "Kenji-san, why didn't you bring this to us sooner?" "Because you wouldn't have listened." She didn't deny it. A few days later, Sho from IT called me. Just wanted to say, "Nice trap." "What do you mean?" "Your credential access logs. I pulled them after you left that tip-off form. Turns out Nakamura's machine logged into your account from his IP address. Twice. You're clean." I exhaled for the first time in weeks. Sho added, "They'll try to make this quiet. Don't let them." I didn't plan to. That weekend, I met with a lawyer. Aya Matsuda, sharp, measured, and deeply unimpressed with corporate BS. She looked over my documents, clicked through the USB I handed her, then said, "They violated your IP attribution, impersonated your credentials, and tried to scapegoat you. You have leverage." "I don't want to sue." "Then what do you want?" I didn't hesitate. "I want to quit on my terms, and I want Nakamura out." She nodded slowly. "Then let's make a plan." What happened next was like watching a glacier crack. Slow, heavy, inevitable. The CTO brought me into a private meeting, praised my professionalism, thanked me for stabilizing the situation, then said, "We're restructuring the team. Nakamura will be moved to a non-management role." Translation, demoted. He asked if I'd be willing to stay. I smiled. "I'll think about it." I didn't think about it. I was already packing my desk. The revenge wasn't quitting in anger. It was quitting in control, with my reputation intact, my documents in hand, and Nakamura watching silently from down the hall as I walked out with my box of things and my head held high. But I wasn't quite done yet. Because revenge? It's best served late and cold. I walked out of that office with a box in my arms and 2 weeks' worth of vacation time, still technically active. Bah, the cherry on top of my polite middle finger to the company. But I wasn't done. See, most people think revenge is about shouting matches or epic walkouts or flipping over desks. Nah, that's not how you hurt someone like Ryo Nakamura. Guys like him don't bleed when you scream. They bleed when their reputation starts to rot quietly, when people stop inviting them to the meetings they used to run. When someone else sits in their chair and nobody notices they're gone. That's the kind of revenge I was aiming for. And it was time to pull the trigger. I spent my first vacation day drafting emails. Not angry ones. Precise ones. Factual, cold, with attachments and timelines and footnotes. I sent them to the CTO, HR, the legal team, and the CEO herself, Mei-Lin Jiang. I laid it all out. How Nakamura impersonated my credentials, lied to a client, misused my work, and attempted to throw me under the bus. No demands. Just the facts. And one sentence at the end. If leadership chooses to sweep this under the rug, I'll assume I was never valued here to begin with. I'll act accordingly. I hit send. Then I shut my laptop and walked away. 2 days later, I got a call. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Yuna from HR, voice tight. Kenji-san, we'd like to speak with you about your recent report. Please call back at your earliest. Deleted. I didn't owe them urgency anymore. Instead, I forwarded everything to Aya Matsuda, my lawyer. She read through the corporate replies, snorted, and said, "They're circling the wagons. HR wants to claim it was a misunderstanding. They'll offer you a quiet settlement. No admission of fault." And Nakamura? They'll reassign him. Maybe gently phase him out. That's not enough. She smiled. Good. I was hoping you'd say that. Then she slid a document across the table. It was a whistleblower claim form, addressed to the Ministry of Labor and Welfare. I didn't even blink. Let's file it. While the company scrambled to figure out how much legal exposure they had, I was busy building something else, my own version of the truth. I started writing. It began as a long-form Reddit post, an anonymous one, of course. No names, no direct identifiers, just my manager tried to steal my work, and it backfired. I laid out everything. The setup, the sabotage, the demo day implosion. The post blew up overnight. Tens of thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments, people telling their own stories, offering support, asking for updates. But more importantly, people inside the industry started whispering. One message I got stood out. It was from a dev at another tech firm. She worked at a competitor. Her DM said, "We know who you're talking about. We've worked with him. You're not the first." That was the moment I knew Nakamura's downfall wasn't just personal, it was inevitable. Then something unexpected happened. Sho Tanaka, the IT security lead, messaged me from his personal email. Check this. Thought you might want to know. Attached was a forwarded internal email, leaked from someone inside my old team. It was Nakamura, begging for damage control. He was trying to get ahead of the story. He wanted a meeting with the CEO to clarify misunderstandings and present alternative evidence. But the tone was pure panic. Sho added one line at the end, "He's unraveling." Around this time, Aya Yamamoto from Kishi Financial emailed me too. The subject line was just, "Thank you." She wrote, "After your departure, we requested full transparency. We've decided not to proceed with the current platform, but we are open to continuing work with the right team." She left her phone number at the bottom. I stared at it for a long time. This could be the start of something, but not yet. I still had one more card to play. See, while the company tried to settle quietly, they didn't realize I'd already gone public. I didn't need hush money. I needed accountability. So I posted a second update on Reddit. It was just a single sentence. They offered money. I offered facts. Then I linked to a new blog I'd built, anonymous but clean, with scrubbed metadata, using a pen name. It hosted a long-form version of my story, plus scanned and redacted documents that backed it up. I never used the company name, but everyone in the Tokyo tech scene knew exactly who it was. The blog went viral. Within a week, 4 ex-employees reached out. All of them had horror stories about Nakamura, racial bias, credit theft, gaslighting. One woman had been pushed out after reporting misconduct and was quietly paid to sign an NDA. I connected them with Aya Matsuda. The dominoes started to fall. A few days later, Mei-Lin Jiang, the CEO, reached out personally. Her tone was polite but strained. "Kenji-san, I'd appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. Off the record." I agreed, not to grovel, just to watch her squirm. We met at a quiet cafe in Akasaka. She was direct. "I can't undo what happened, but I want to make it clear. Nakamura will be terminated. The company will be issuing a public correction to Kishi Financial. Internally, we'll be implementing new controls." I sipped my tea. "And the others?" She nodded. "We're investigating every name you provided. There will be changes." I believed her. She looked exhausted. But I wasn't done yet. Before I left, I handed her a thumb drive. "What's this?" she asked. "Everything I didn't publish." She stared at it. "If this ever happens to someone else," I said, "don't say you didn't know." Then I stood up and walked away. She never contacted me again. So yeah, that was the trigger. Not a rage quit, not a yelling match, just facts. Documented, organized, shared, and weaponized, because sometimes the best revenge isn't fire, it's sunlight. You'd think after all that, the quiet exit, the leaked documents, the public fallout, I'd feel euphoric. But that's the thing about revenge. It doesn't come with a standing ovation. It comes with silence. Heavy, unfamiliar silence. I remember waking up the morning after Mei Lin Zhang took that USB drive from me. My inbox was empty. No follow-up. No drama. Just a soft nothingness. And I laid there thinking, so now what? What came next was slower than I expected, but powerful. It started with the press release, buried deep on the company's investor relations site. Just a quiet little statement that Ryo Nakamura had resigned effective immediately to pursue other opportunities. No fanfare, no tribute post on LinkedIn, just a line in a footer. But it was enough. The guy who once strutted around the office like he owned the floor? Gone. And not even HR had the spine to throw him a goodbye lunch. Haruto texted me 2 days later. Yo, you win. His office is empty. They didn't even let him pack it himself. I didn't reply, but I smiled. He sent another message right after. Also, word is you've got an offer coming your way, from Kishi. Now that got my attention. A week later, Aya Yamamoto and I met at a rooftop cafe in Ebisu. She ordered a matcha latte. I got black coffee. No milk. Let me be blunt, she said. We're building an internal AI risk team. Clean slate. Transparent leadership. I want you leading it. I blinked. Me? Your documentation, your honesty, the way you handled that disaster, that's leadership. Not everyone can walk through hell and take notes on the way out. I laughed. You're not worried I'm radioactive? She sipped her drink. I like fire. It burns away liars. I took the job. But before I signed anything, I did one last thing. I wrote Nakamura a letter. Not to mail. Not to keep. Just to get it out. It said, you could have built something with me. Instead, you tried to build it on me. You taught me that trust isn't something you give. It's something you audit. And I hope wherever you end up next, someone audits the hell out of you. I deleted it right after. Because closure isn't about confrontation. Sometimes it's just about getting the poison out of your own system. Working at Kishi was different. Aya ran her team with military precision and total transparency. Every meeting had an agenda. Every document had version control. Every decision had context. I didn't have to watch my back anymore, and that took some getting used to. A few months in, Sho Tanaka reached out again. He'd left the company too, apparently burned out from trying to play defense in a place that didn't care about integrity. He thanked me. Said, my actions had made it easier for him to walk away. I told him the truth. I didn't feel brave. I felt cornered. He just smiled and said, cornered people don't build traps. They survive. You dismantled the whole damn building. I guess I needed to hear that. Meanwhile, the Reddit post kept circulating. Every now and then, someone would DM me asking for advice. How to document abuse. How to protect their work. How to stand up without setting everything on fire. I always said the same thing. Document everything. Save copies. Don't argue. Record. And when the time comes, leave clean. Leave smart. Leave loud, even if it's only on paper. As for Yuna from HR, she left 2 months after Nakamura, no statement, no replacement, just gone. Haruto said her departure was part of restructuring. I called it karma. She never reached out. I didn't expect her to. People think revenge is about gloating. It's not. Revenge is watching someone realize they bet everything on the wrong person, and they lost. Quietly. Publicly. Permanently. Nakamura doesn't work in Tokyo anymore. Rumor is he tried to pivot to consulting, but our industry's small, and gossip travels fast. The kind of fast that makes people pause when they see your name on a resume. The kind of pause you don't recover from. About 6 months after I left the company, I walked past my old office building. It was rainy, the kind of cold spring rain that smells like concrete and change. I stood across the street for a moment, looked up at those glass windows, and for the first time, I didn't feel bitter. I just felt done. Done with the pretending. Done with the begging. Done with the invisible leash they'd looped around my neck and called stability. I called Haruto later that night. Took a walk down memory lane, I said. He groaned. Tell me you didn't actually go near that cursed tower. Didn't go in, just looked. You good? I thought about it. Then I said, yeah, I'm good. He paused. You sound different. I feel different. He laughed. Well, you damn well should. You took the whole system and flipped it. Wasn't trying to flip it, I said. Just didn't want to be crushed under it. Same thing in the end? Maybe it was. Sometimes people ask me if I regret anything, if I wish I'd just kept my head down, taken the easy road, let Nakamura take the credit and cashed my checks in silence. But here's what I know now. There is no paycheck big enough to buy back your self-respect, no promotion opportunity worth being treated like a tool, no deadline worth dismantling your identity for, and no manager, no matter how slick his suit or smooth his talk, gets to rewrite your story if you're holding the pen. So here's to quitting. Not in anger, not in fear, but in power. Because the most epic revenge is being so unshakably yourself that they can't even look you in the eye when they hear your name. Thanks for listening. If you've been through something similar, drop it in the comments. You're not alone, and you're not crazy for wanting more than survival. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?